All right, and we are back and we are live. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope everyone's doing great. Welcome to the Barokecast episode 8. Just throwing it out there. If you guys don't know yet, you can find me on YouTube, Spotify. Now we're on Apple Music. I'm loving that. Google Casts and Amazon. So we're doing well. We're putting it out there, and we're making moves. So I don't know if we're going to do this as a tradition, but right now I'm drinking a little whiskey to celebrate a crazy busy week for me, creating all this cloud strategy stuff and doing a bunch of technology strategy things. But I'm a big whiskey head. I'm a big Scotch drinker. If any of y'all out there into that types of stuff, right now what I'm drinking is Nika whiskey. They're pure malt, and I'll show it if you're watching the video, and you can see actually on camera. See if it'll adjust a little bit. No, it's not going to do it. But anyways, I was given this as a gift by my mother last year, and I've been slow to drink it because it is absolutely one of my favorite whiskeys. It's super, super balanced, and it's one of those whiskeys that's, I'm not going to call it a sherry bomb because it's definitely not that, but it's very light, and you get this like oaky, brilliant finish throughout the entire way. So while we're not sponsored by Nika Whiskey, maybe, because my name is Nick, we negotiate that at some point in the future. Who knows? Who knows? One can dream, right? One can dream. But anyways, episode 8, let's do this as kind of a light day, lighthearted, keep it a little bit uplifted. It's Friday. I know everyone wants to hang out and go do some fun stuff. Make your weekends fun. Take some time for yourselves and relax. Some of the things I want to talk about today are three big things, right? Space. I know it's kind of weird. I also want to talk about speaking with Candor, and also intelligence, right? So let's roll and let's see where we end up, right? Love it. It's a whiskey sniffer, by the way. Brilliant. So anyway, space, right? This is something that's fascinated me pretty much my entire life, and I find it fascinating for many different reasons, right? One of the biggest reasons is because it's so out there. I know that's like pretty obvious, but it's also, I feel like we don't spend enough time actually realizing that we haven't really breached that frontier yet, and yet it's one of those things that we can see every single day of every single night. You just look up at the air and it's like you can't be there. Some people are out there up in the satellites, or not satellites, space station, basically enjoying themselves, hanging out, doing a lot of experimentation, stuff like that. But we're here on Earth just kind of chilling. And it's like, when you think about space, it kind of at least helps me conceptualize how infinitesimally small I am as compared to the universe and the world. I mean, if you think about it, like, how big is our planet compared to the sun? It's like so small. And then that's only one part of our Milky Way galaxy. And then how many galaxies are there in existence? And you basically come upon some endless, infinitely big, universe, if you will, that basically, is never ending, possibly, potentially, with some of the models, that you're looking at. And it's got all these weird quirks and things that we don't know about, like black holes and dark space. We have ideas of how they work and hypotheses and things like that, but I mean, we haven't even really flown anything into the sun to my knowledge, and if we have, it probably melted before we could get like close enough to really identify it. I think recently there was a picture that came out of someone saying that they took a shot of the first solar flare up close, and it was pretty cool looking at. What kind of got me thinking about this, right, is I think, if I'm not mistaken, let me just double check to make sure we're accurate and we keep things as accurate as possible here. Yes, NASA outlines plan for the first woman on the moon by 2024. This is cool. We haven't visited the moon in a while, and I know there's not a lot there. For everyone who doesn't realize that, there's actually not much on the moon at all, if anything at all. But it's really cool that we're finally going to put a woman on the moon. I believe it's going to be the first woman on the moon. I think we're the only folks that have visited there, to my knowledge. I think the Russians might have, or at least tried to in secret, but who knows, right? But it's cool, got to embrace equality, got to embrace diversity, and it's great to see that we're doing that, especially in some of the things that are non-essentials, like going to the moon, right? We have a mission that I believe we're planning for Mars in a few years. I think Elon Musk wants to go to Mars, whatever it is. That's pretty cool. I'm not the one to sign up for that. I like this planet. I'm going to stay here. I think it's really cool. But, cheers to that, whoever that astronaut gets picked. Fun fact, and I remember this to this day, when I was younger, I actually got a signed autograph by Sally Ride, which was the first American astronaut in space that was a lady. So the first female, if I'm not mistaken, American female. And I lost that picture. I remember exactly what she wrote. She wrote, "Reach for the stars." And to this day, I am kicking myself, and I wish I had it, because if I could, I would frame it and then save it. And if I'm in the future ever so lucky, give it to maybe, someone younger who could see that, hey, you can become anything you want to be. And that's I find that pretty fascinating, right? So anyways, that's my hot take on space. It's one of those places that, like, I feel like it demands introspection to kind of think about yourself, because it forces you to realize how insignificant you are in the grand scheme of things. And I think that the more things in life that put you in your place help you realize what you can do, instead of trying to do everything, and where you can work to focus on and do things better and build in the right direction yourself and society and things of that nature. But it's cool. Hopefully we get spaceships one day and visit them. Hopefully we don't get attacked by aliens. I know they're probably out there. Who knows? But, there may actually be the possibility that we may be the only intelligent life in the universe. Now, I think that's very unlikely, but that is still a possibility, and I think it's something everyone should consider. Kind of crazy, though. Yeah. So, cheers to whoever that lady is, and I hope she has a safe trip on 2024. Let's put a lady on the moon. I'd love to see that. I'd love a nice new picture, and maybe we'll all get to celebrate as well. Such a balanced whiskey. Check it out, seriously. Nikop Pure Malt. Now, so next topic, right, is speaking with candor. Okay. So this is important to me for a few different reasons, and the reason and way that this kind of got brought up to me and reminded me that I need to talk about it is because I see a lot of recent events and recent frustrations and a lot of emotions running high lately on social media and sites that allow you to express yourself in multiple different ways. And I find a lot of people needlessly posting things left and right that may or may not agree with what they're posting, or at least from my perspective, probably don't fully understand what they're posting. And I think there's an argument to be made of putting things in your own words. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, if you have an idea, if you have a cause that you support, if you want to promote something, I think it's important to take a step back, and instead of posting that trendy meme comment or clickbait article, to put that in your own words. I'm not saying don't post it. They're hilarious. A lot of them are. A lot of things are fun, and, infographic type posts are really cool too. But take a second and say, hey, here's this post. It's really cool. Check it out. And force yourself to put it in your own words. What does it mean to you? Right? And that's going to help you understand what's actually being said better. And this is why I recommend this, because what I find is when you engage with a lot of people that are pretty frisky with throwing out content that they didn't create themselves, if you engage with those folks, a lot of times you'll find that they really don't understand what is being put out, or they really don't 100% agree with it. And you know what? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's it's a flaw on yourself if you're going to throw something out in the world and you don't back it. And it's not that you can't change your opinion and grow and adapt, and that's the beautiful part of being human, is that we're all growing and we're all changing and we're all becoming better, hopefully, and doing things that improve our lives. But when you basically don't put something in your words, you kind of have this logical slip where you're not really understanding a lot of times what you're posting, and you could have someone that says, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that all the cars in the United States are painted red, and that's what I want. And it's like, okay, if that's as an example, your goal, that's fine. But if they throw something out there and you repost it as, okay, I want all the cars painted red, it's like, is that something you really want? I don't know, but I have found that when you ask people that post things like that, well, is that true? Do you really want all the cars painted red? And again, I'm just using this as an example, but often they'll say, no, I just want, basically cars that wouldn't be considered trucks, not pickup trucks. And it's like, oh, well, you just posted, I want all the cars painted red. And it's like, oh yeah, no, I don't believe that fully. I didn't think I had to mention that. It's like, well, maybe you yourself didn't consider that, right? Maybe you're kind of being brainwashed and taken advantage of by not forcing yourself to take 3 seconds to put something in your own words, in your own context. And it's what I've found is that most people that are behind a certain ideology or idea, a lot of them will tend to agree in multiple different ways. Even folks that disagree with you, you can find a lot of mutual points a lot of times if you're having a healthy conversation with someone, but agreement points, that is. But not every point you have to agree with, and that's okay. But you're not going to understand that yourself if you don't put things in your own words. If you're just out there churning out different versions of drafts and content and reposting memes and things like that. And I'm not talking about just funny things here and there. I mean, like, posting items that suggest someone act in a certain way or do a certain thing, right? Because if you're asking someone to modify who they are, you should at least have the decency to ask them yourself, instead of just reposting some burnt out random fact or partial story that someone wrote. You don't have to know everything. I'm not saying fact check things 24/7. It would be beneficial if we all could, but we do our best, one would assume. But just take the time, right? Take the time, ask yourself, is this something I really believe? Do I really fully believe this? And it's okay to say, hey, this is what I believe with this, that, or the other, caveated into it. And I think what you'll find is, once you start doing that and you start putting things in your own words and speaking with candor, if you will, in a sense that you're being frank, you're open, you're honest, people are going to forgive you if you say something that may not be accurate, right? Because they're like, oh, they're speaking from their heart, right? I understand that they got this messed up, but that's okay. That's not the essence of what they're saying. That's not the core of what they're trying to convey. And get into this habit. Get into the habit of putting things in your own words. It is the only thing that you can do to force yourself from being basically mind controlled by someone's quick, trendy comments that your brain is basically making a lapse of judgment to ignore, and you're just reposting. So I'm not going to personally allow others to control me. And we all do this. Some of us are much better at resisting this than others. I mean, it's a struggle for me 24/7. There's a lot of things I'd love to repost. I try to only repost like funny stuff that makes people laugh, but anything like politically or morally based or based in compelling people to act in a certain way, I generally try to put that in my own words. And I find that it's easier to have conversations. People see it as being you. They don't get upset because they understand that it's coming from inside, and it's something that they allow to get out and they want to understand more so than an effortless post that will fall into deaf ears of no one actually caring about what you have to say. So that's my 2 cents on speaking with candor. Do it from your heart. Do it with meaning. Do it with frankness. And if you see something you agree with, an idea, a theory, an ideology, whatever it is, and you feel that you agree with it, there's nothing wrong with reposting it, but take 2 seconds. Just take 2 seconds to put it in your own words. That's going to make it easier for the reader. That's going to make it more impactful to the reader. It's going to get your point across. It's going to make you consider what your actual feelings are towards that subject, and it's going to allow you to grow a little bit and do a little bit of self-introspection to understand the inner workings of your own mind better than just mindlessly posting something. So, another sip of this beautiful whiskey. Now, let's get into... Thank you, motorcycle. You can go now. A little bit of extra noise. You guys might not have heard that, but my mic might be picking it up, and I'm sorry about that. I live near a highway almost, and so sometimes you'll get like these trucks or things that go by, and if you hear any background noise, a lot of times it's that. But now to the third topic, which is something that I find pretty interesting to me, which is intelligence and smartness, right? And this is a subject that I was talking about with a colleague of mine. He can remain unnamed, but he knows who he is because he's going to listen, hopefully. He's absolutely brilliant, very analytical, ex-consultant like myself as well. And basically we were discussing what is the meaning of intelligence and what is the meaning of being smart. And first I'm going to give you my own definition of intelligence and being smart, and that is, I feel that being smart is correlated to what you know, hard facts, things like how many colors are in a rainbow, what is pi, how do you bake a cake, what temperature does water boil, what's the best way to peel an apple, how many pounds are 36 kilograms, things like that. The what you know, things that you would learn in school, cold hard facts, things that would not change because they're embedded in a part of your memory that one could consider storage, if you would. That's what I think of people that are smart. And the idea of being smart in general. And so then it comes to the question of, well, what's intelligence? Well, to me, intelligence is the application of what you know. It's the connection of different ideas and disparate solutions and complex assumptions and pulling of those things together to interlink them and apply what they mean collectively and individually to come to a solution or a question, right? So being smart is what you know. Intelligence is the application of what you know. How well you use the information you have, right? If you only know there's 2 colors in a rainbow, well, then you're probably colorblind. But the point is, like, if you only know there's 2 colors in a rainbow, red and green, and you didn't know red, green, yellow, blue, violet, indigo are all colors of the rainbow, well, perhaps you're someone who is not so smart, right? But if you knew all the colors, maybe you're smart, right? But if you're asked to, basically use the colors of the rainbow to draw a picture, right? Perhaps you're not so great at drawing, and perhaps you could be great at drawing, but maybe one of those people can draw a better picture, and maybe that's the person that only knows 2 colors, but it looks like a masterpiece, and independent of how many colors they use, maybe they draw it in grayscale, I don't know. But you get where I'm going with this, right? That's actually a pretty poor example, but the idea is, if I know how to drive a car and I'm intelligent, then perhaps I can learn how to drive a truck. Perhaps I can learn how to fly a plane, because they should all be relationally different but similar enough that my intelligence of learning what I know, my basic smartness in knowing how to drive a car, would at least be able to apply in a truck, would at least be able to apply somewhat in a plane, and perhaps even somewhat on a boat, So that's intelligence. And I find a lot of folks in my life that I meet are pretty smart or pretty intelligent, and I rarely find many folks that are both. They are far and few in between, but I try to make friends with the folks that have a good grasp on both, and that's what makes you a whole person. That makes you absolutely dangerous, because there's not much that you can't do. You find people that are just so book smart, if you will, and they can't even operate in society. It's like they have issues understanding people. They have issues applying the knowledge that they know other than reciting quick facts. They have a lot of trouble getting to the ethos of arguments. They have trouble really understanding where people are coming from. They don't make those connections as well as people that I find that are naturally intelligent, right? And people that I find that are naturally intelligent but not smart, a lot of times end up not doing much with their life because they find it troublesome to get into a job that perhaps they could excel in, because they just don't know as much. And that's an unfortunate side component of capitalism and the United States economy, is that a lot of times for jobs we require things like a college degree, when in fact it might be meaningless. Because I'll be the first person to say I love my school. I did learn quite a bit, but how much of the things that I learned in school am I actually applying at my day job? I don't know. So a little bit of it, right? Not too much. But the point is, to become a whole version of yourself, you need both, right? If you're someone who's naturally gifted in intelligence, and you're someone who would be considered potentially street smart, who knows how to take care of themselves, maybe you could pick them up and drop them in any city, and wherever they land, they could make a life for themselves and get by without anything. That's an intelligent person, I think. If that's what you consider yourself as, spend a little time bringing up the other side, which is your average smartness, your average accumulation of facts and knowledge. Increase that. You want to fill in the gaps of where you're weak, right? That's what makes you whole, and that's how you prevent yourself from running into situations where you're unequipped to solve the problem. And conversely, if you're someone who's incredibly smart and brilliant, a lot of doctors are this way, where they'll talk to patients, and the patients will rattle off their symptoms, this, that, or the other. Doctors, boom, will immediately write a prescription for a medicine that they think, without actually really digging into the patient and learning. And it's like, are they wrong? I don't know. Because A, first off, I'm not a doctor, and I shouldn't be commenting on medical recommendations. But B, perhaps they didn't dig into the patient enough. They just gave the exact answer that the textbook gives. And I think in a majority of cases that will provide you with the right answer, but it still provides you with a partial understanding of the subject, because you haven't really spent the time to understand the reason why perhaps they're suffering this, versus just trying to find that solution, right? So if you're someone who is perhaps considered just smart and maybe not so intelligent, or you would at least consider yourself that, work on the other aspect of it. Don't focus so much on the details. Focus more on figuring out the why between things and how it relates to other things. And once you get that, then you become a dangerous individual, because once you're whole, there's not really many problems you can't solve. And by doing that, that's going to also allow you to see the gaps and the potential pitfalls that may lie ahead of you that you would miss otherwise. And so that's what it really comes down to. It comes down to having both, a healthy balance of intelligence and a healthy balance of being smart. You need someone who can recite facts accurately and provide descriptions of things that are precise and meet the standard that is required to answer a question. And then you also need someone who can make the connections between multiple different ideas and multiple different concepts and pull them together to answer the question of why is this thing or this idea or this concept a certain way. And that to me is being smart and being intelligent, right? And it's something that I have thought about for an incredibly long amount of time, long amount of hours, and it's my own definition. A lot of people define intelligence as IQ, and I think that's partially correct. One might even suggest it's more correct, but that's not my definition of it. I think IQ is something that is more genetic than anything else, unfortunately. I think you can learn probably when you're younger to increase your IQ, but I think there's a point in time where once you start maturing, once your brain is fully myelinated, you probably can't increase your IQ anymore. I think that's what most of the studies show. But you can always work on being smarter. You can always work on learning more, right? And even if you're in that bucket of just being someone who would consider themselves super smart, but maybe they have trouble talking to people, maybe they have trouble dealing with others, practice it. You may not be the person who can talk to an entire room and be the life of the party, or be that person who understands people without them even saying a word, but you can at least do that enough to where you're comfortable understanding how others react to basically improve your skill as far as it can go, and that's still better than probably where it is if you would consider yourselves one of those people that is lacking in that area. So that's my advice. We're gonna take Friday easy today. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast episode 8. I'm loving these podcasts. I'm loving the YouTube videos I'm making. I'm getting a lot of feedback, a lot of positives, a lot of recommendations here and there. What we got coming up next weekend is we're going to be doing and starting our actual series on our interviews, which is going to be pretty cool. I've got a couple interviews lined up with some pretty cool people, and I think you're going to enjoy that. Until then, you'll have to wait. I think Monday through Friday is going to be my upload consistency and how we're going to move forward from there. But if you enjoyed it, do me a favor, like wherever you are on whatever platform you're listening to. That really does help me out. Subscribe, and again, you can find me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google Music, Amazon, and we are out. Have a wonderful Friday, everyone. Cheers.